It was supposed to be a quiet Tuesday night. The kind of night where the silence of the suburbs blankets everything in a dull calm, and the hum of the air conditioner becomes background music to domestic comfort. But that night, our bedroom turned into a battleground, and it started with the smallest thing, a kiss on the shoulder. She flinched. Melissa, my wife of 5 years, the woman who once laughed in her sleep and always curled her toes when she kissed, pulled away like my touch was electric wire. "Not tonight, Jake," she said, her voice flat. "Intimacy's only by my consent." That word, consent, like I was some stranger who wandered into her space. Like I needed a contract just to be close to my own wife. I blinked, unsure how to respond. "Of course," I said quietly, hands raised in retreat. "I just thought." "You thought wrong," she snapped, tugging her robe tighter like I was the threat. "I'm tired. I've had a long day. You always expect something. I'm not obligated to give you anything just because we're married." I stood there, half leaning on the dresser, heart pounding. "I never said you were obligated." She rolled her eyes. "You didn't have to." I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood. Every instinct told me to argue, to defend myself, to ask what had changed. But something about her tone, it wasn't tired. It was rehearsed, practiced, like she'd been waiting for a moment to deliver that line. I swallowed the 1,000 words I wanted to say and just nodded. "Got it." Then I walked out of the room, quietly, slowly, like a man leaving a house that was no longer his home, down the hallway, past the wedding photo that used to make me smile, and into the guest room. I sat on the edge of the bed, the one with the stiff mattress we never bothered replacing, and stared at the blank wall in front of me. This wasn't a fight. Fights end with slammed doors or awkward apologies. This was something else. A shift, a cold reclassification of who I was in her world. I thought back to just a few hours earlier. Me, chopping onions in our sunlit kitchen while she worked late. Again. I'd lit a candle, made her favorite soup, folded laundry during commercials, just trying to keep the peace, just trying to feel like we were still partners. But now, I wasn't her partner. I was a liability she had to defend her space from. Funny thing is, from the outside, we were a picture-perfect couple. Melissa, the marketing director with a bright future and sharper tongue. Me, Jake Monroe, middle school history teacher, well-liked by students, quiet, predictable, maybe a little boring. The kind of guy who wears the same watch every day and knows when the recycling goes out. But no one ever talks about what predictability turns into when your wife starts looking at you like furniture. Useful, but uninspiring. She wanted boundaries? Fine. She'd have them. But I made a silent promise to myself that night, in the dim quiet of our house in Austin. I wouldn't be humiliated in my own home. If she wanted to teach me a lesson, she'd find out I was a quick learner. And what happened next? Well, let's just say this was only the first move on a board that was about to get very crowded. The next morning, I stood in the kitchen, pouring her coffee the way she liked it. Almond milk, no sugar, just hot enough to sting. She barely glanced up from her phone when I placed the mug beside her. "Thanks," she said, robotic. No eye contact, no smile, just a flat syllable from someone who used to laugh when I messed up her coffee ratio by a 1/4 inch. I told myself it was just work stress. Melissa's firm had been in campaign mode for weeks, and I'd seen what it did to her. Red eyes, endless calls, that clenched jaw she didn't know she had. I'd seen it before, but this time, it felt different. So I did what any hopeful fool would do. I compensated. After work, I swung by the grocery store and bought her favorite gluten-free pasta. I mopped the floors, dusted the shelves she hated touching, even folded the laundry, hers included, and paired all the socks just the way she liked. I didn't say a word. I just did it, quietly, trying to build peace with actions. And every night that week, she walked past me in the hallway without a second glance, like a ghost brushing by a stranger. The only words I got were functional. "Can you move your car?" Or, "We need more paper towels." No softness, no teasing, no traces of the woman who used to slip love notes into my lunchbox just because. But I held out hope. I really did. I figured if I could be patient enough, helpful enough, she'd snap out of whatever fog she was in and remember who we were. That Friday afternoon, I left work early to deep clean the bathroom. The The smell of bleach clung to my skin as I ironed a tablecloth for dinner. I'd made a reservation-worthy meal: pan-seared steak, roasted potatoes, a bottle of red we'd been saving since our anniversary. The candles were lit, the jazz playlist humming softly through the speakers, and I'd even set her napkin with that little fold she once joked made her feel fancy. She arrived an hour late. I heard the garage door, the click of her heels on tile, the distinct pause when she smelled the food. I straightened up, half smiling as she entered the kitchen, coat still draped over her arm. She looked around, eyes landing on the wine, the candles, the effort. Then she smirked. Not a kind one. "Someone's trying too hard," she muttered, hanging her purse lazily on a chair. "I'm not a cheap date, Jake." The words hit harder than they should have. I stared at her, gripping the wine glass tighter than I meant to. But I didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't ask her what changed or why I suddenly felt like a housekeeper trying to impress a queen who no longer cared. I just nodded once, sat down, took a slow sip of the wine I'd poured for both of us. Then I stood and walked into the living room, quietly, like a man who realized his bedroom wasn't his anymore. That night, I moved my pillow and blanket to the couch without saying a word. If she wanted boundaries, she'd get more than she bargained for. And if you think that was the end of the story, believe me, it was just the first crack in a mask I was only starting to peel off. The couch wasn't comfortable, but it was honest. Every night that week, I made it my sanctuary, my quiet protest, my new border drawn in throw pillows and folded blankets. Melissa said nothing about the shift. Not once. We moved around each other like two strangers in a shared Airbnb. She cooked for herself. I did the dishes. She'd watch TV in the bedroom. I'd scroll my phone in the living room. The silence between us wasn't hostile. It was clinical, as if we'd become colleagues who accidentally moved in together. But then Thursday night came. I was half asleep on the couch, the hum of the fridge my only company, when I felt her fingers trace the back of my hand. Light, slow, like old times. I didn't move. Then her voice, whisper soft and almost playful. "You know, I always hated that old couch." I opened my eyes. Melissa knelt beside me in her silk robe, hair damp from a late shower, smelling like the vanilla shampoo I used to steal just for the scent. She leaned in closer. "You've been good," she whispered. "Helpful, respectful." Her hand slid up my arm. "And I've been mean, haven't I?" I turned my face slowly to meet hers. No anger, no warmth either. She tilted her head. "So maybe tonight, we don't need boundaries." That's when I heard it again, the script. A different version this time, but still rehearsed. I sat up and gently moved her hand from my chest. "Intimacy's only by consent," I said, echoing her words from just days ago. She blinked, caught off guard. "And I don't give mine tonight." Silence. Then a laugh. A single, startled burst that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Okay, point taken. You're mad." I leaned back against the armrest, pulling the blanket up. "I'm not mad. I'm just participating in the rules now. Your rules." She stood abruptly, robe swaying. "This isn't a game, Jake." I looked at her then, really looked. "Isn't it?" Her face hardened. "You're punishing me." "No," I said softly. "I'm mirroring you." She stared at me like she didn't recognize the man on the couch anymore. And maybe she didn't. Because for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I wasn't chasing. I wasn't offering. I was withholding. She turned without another word and walked back down the hall. The click of the bedroom door closing was oddly satisfying. The next few days brought a quiet shift. Small gestures started showing up like cautious olive branches. She made me coffee on Saturday, left a sticky note on the fridge that said, "Don't forget lunch," and even smiled once when I came back from the store. She didn't say much, but her tone changed, softer, less armored. She lingered in the doorway when I folded laundry. She paused beside the couch when I was half watching reruns, like she was waiting for me to open the door again. But I didn't. Not yet. Because something had clicked that night on the couch. Not anger, not spite, clarity. And now the power dynamic she'd rewritten? I wasn't tearing it down. I was using it. A week passed like that. Me on the couch, her in the bedroom, and a strange politeness blooming between us. It wasn't warmth. It wasn't reconciliation. It was calculation. Melissa started inching closer, day by day. First, it was breakfast. She made eggs and toast and left a plate on the kitchen island with a folded napkin. Didn't say a word, just placed it there and walked off. Then came the texts, short, safe ones. Hope your day's going okay. Or, did you remember the dry cleaning? Like we were resetting to factory settings. But I noticed something else. The way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't watching. Eyes trailing longer, softer, even tentative. And the night she laughed, genuinely laughed, at one of my offhand jokes while we passed in the hallway, that was the first crack in her cool exterior. Still, I didn't budge, because I wasn't waiting for apologies anymore. I was watching for change. Then came Friday. I got home from work and instantly sensed something was different. The house was clean, not our usual tidy, but spotless. There was soft music playing, Billie Holiday, and the lights were dimmed. The dining table was set with the good plates we hadn't used in months. And in the middle of it all stood Melissa. She wore a red dress. Not flashy, not daring, but elegant. Modest even. The kind she used to wear back when we were still trying to impress each other. Her hair was down. Her makeup soft. She looked present. She smiled. Not wide, but real. Dinner's ready, she said gently. For the man I've missed. I took a slow step inside, removed my jacket, and glanced at the table. 2 wine glasses. Steak. Roasted carrots. A flickering candle in the center. Looks like someone's trying too hard, I said calmly, raising an eyebrow. Her face faltered, just for a second. I stepped closer. I'm not a cheap date, you know. And then it happened. Her mouth twitched, and a laugh broke out. A surprised, almost nervous laugh. And I found myself chuckling too, despite everything. She covered her mouth. Touché. I walked to the table, pulled out the chair, and Saturday, let's eat. Over dinner, the conversation was light. She asked about my students. I told her about a kid who misspelled constitution as constipation on a pop quiz. She laughed so hard she nearly dropped her fork. And for a moment, just a moment, we weren't fractured. We were familiar. No heavy talks. No accusations. Just 2 people eating steak and trying to remember how to be human around each other. But underneath it all, beneath the jokes and sips of wine, was a question neither of us dared to ask out loud. Was this real change, or just a performance with better lighting? Either way, I wasn't letting my guard down. Not yet. Because now, I understood the value of hesitation. Of not handing your heart over at the first sign of a smile. And the truth? It felt powerful. The next few days unfolded like cautious steps across thin ice. Melissa didn't speak of the dinner again, but something had shifted. The red dress was replaced with cozy sweaters. Her phone stayed face down more often. She started waking up before me, something she never used to do, and I'd find coffee already brewing, toast popping up, eggs hissing softly in the pan. Made you breakfast, she said on Tuesday morning, not looking up as she stirred the pan. I hesitated. Thanks, I replied, sliding into the stool opposite her. She didn't smile, just nodded, focused on the eggs like they held secrets. But her hand shook slightly when she passed me the plate. That afternoon, I got a text. Not a reminder, not a grocery list. Just, hope your day's going better than yesterday. Mine's quieter. No emojis. No extra fluff. Just a breadcrumb on the trail. Wednesday evening, as I was finishing up grading papers on the couch, she sat beside me without asking. No robe. No pretense. Just sweatpants and a hoodie. She didn't say anything. Just sat. Close, but not touching, and pulled a blanket over her lap. She watched some baking competition show with half interest while I worked. At one point, she nudged me and pointed at a contestant fumbling a souffle. That's me, emotionally, she whispered. I glanced at her. She was already looking away, pretending like she hadn't said it. But it sat between us, honest and awkward. I nodded once. You're not the only one. That night, I didn't sleep on the couch. I didn't return to the bedroom either. Instead, I stayed up in the kitchen, sipping lukewarm tea, staring at the sink full of clean dishes, wondering what this new version of Melissa meant. Was she changing? Or just trying on change like a seasonal wardrobe? Because here's the thing about small fires. They warm you at first. But if you're not careful, they'll start to burn in places you didn't intend. Thursday, she called me during lunch. That hadn't happened in months. Hey, she said, her voice unsure, almost sheepish. Just checking in. You sounded off this morning. I paused, staring out at the school parking lot from my car. I'm all right. Just tired. Tired of me? She asked, quiet. I didn't answer right away. Then I said, I'm tired of wondering who I'm married to. There was a silence on the other end. Then, softly, I'm wondering too. But I'm trying to find out. She hung up before I could respond. That night, she made us dinner. Simple pasta, garlic bread. She didn't dress up. Didn't try to seduce. Just sat across from me and asked if we could talk soon. Really talk. Maybe this weekend? She offered. No pretending. Just us. I nodded. It was strange. I wasn't sure if I was hopeful or preparing for a final verdict. But I knew one thing. I wasn't chasing anymore. And whatever came next, it would have to meet me halfway. Friday felt different the moment I stepped through the front door. The scent hit first. Garlic, rosemary, maybe a hint of vanilla. Something rich and inviting. Then the music. Low jazz again. The same Billie Holiday record from the week before. And there she was, Melissa, standing in the doorway between the kitchen and dining room, dressed in that same modest red dress. Hair down, soft waves over her shoulder. Makeup done, not overdone, but deliberate, thoughtful. The way she used to dress on our early dates when she still seemed nervous around me. Dinner's ready, she said, voice steady. For the man I've missed. I froze. Deja vu flooded the hallway. She smiled softly, holding out her hand. Please. I took a few steps closer, studying the table. 2 glasses. Wine already poured. Steak, again. Carrots. Even the folded napkins. You're going all out, I said. I wanted tonight to feel different. Special. Funny. I murmured, eyeing the scene. Looks familiar. She blinked. What do you mean? I pulled out my chair, but didn't sit. Last Friday. Remember that? Same dress. Same playlist. Same dinner. Her face fell just a notch. I thought you liked it. I did, I said, then leaned slightly over the table, until it felt like a performance, like a second take on a scene that didn't land the first time. Melissa stepped back. That's not fair. I nodded slowly. Maybe, but neither was mocking my effort the first time I made this meal. She swallowed. I didn't mean it. I was tired, stressed. I sipped my wine. Cheap tricks don't work on me either. That stopped her. For a second, her eyes flared with something. Shock, maybe. Then, she laughed. A full, surprised laugh that cracked the tension. You really are changing, she said, almost admiringly. Saturday, you were expecting a puppy. You got a mirror. She nodded, still smiling. But this time, there was no smugness. Just something real. Maybe even relief. Dinner went on. It was comfortable, strange as that sounds. We talked. Not like spouses, not yet. Like 2 people who used to know each other well, and were trying to remember what that felt like. But something else had shifted. Melissa didn't steer the conversation. She listened, asked questions, even admitted where she'd been wrong, how she'd let resentment build up, how she'd punished me for things I hadn't done, how she'd convinced herself she had to teach me lessons instead of having honest conversations. I was cruel, she said. You didn't deserve that. I didn't rush to forgive. I just nodded. I needed to hear you say that. She reached across the table, but stopped herself. May I? I paused, then gave a single nod. Her hand brushed mine, tentative, uncertain. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't pull away. But I didn't grip back either. I was still watching, still waiting. Because trust doesn't snap back like elastic. It rebuilds, brick by careful brick. That Sunday, we finally sat down to talk. No distractions. No background music or candlelight illusions. Just Melissa and me, across from each other at the kitchen table, mugs of coffee cooling in our hands. She looked nervous. I was calm. I've been thinking a lot, she began, staring into her mug like it could shield her from judgment. About how I treated you. How I used affection like leverage. How I pushed you away and then blamed you for being distant. I nodded. I didn't interrupt. I wanted her to feel every word she chose. I felt overwhelmed, she continued. Work, expectations, pressure to be everything all at once. And instead of telling you, I started treating you like an obstacle. You stopped seeing me as a partner, I said. She winced. I did. I saw you as the structure I wanted to break free from instead of the man I built it with. We were quiet a moment. I'm not here to beg, she added. But I want to be clear. I don't want to lose you. And if that means unlearning how I've behaved in relationships, Then that's what I'll do. I leaned forward slightly. Why now? Her eyes glistened. Because when you mirrored me that night, when you said you didn't give consent, it broke something in me. I realized how small I'd made you feel, and how easily you could have become someone else entirely. Angry, cold, vengeful. But instead, you held a mirror to me, and I didn't like what I saw. I nodded slowly. I didn't become cold, Melissa. I became clear. She breathed in deep. What happens now? I slid a small notepad toward her. We build new terms. Together. Boundaries, expectations, needs. Yours. Mine. She blinked, then smiled faintly. A contract. Not legally, I said. Emotionally. So we talked. We wrote down things we never had the courage to admit before. That I need emotional availability. Not just smiles and coffee, but presence. That she needs space that doesn't feel like exile. That intimacy isn't a reward, it's a reflection. That silence isn't strength, it's a symptom. By the time the sun dipped low and cast gold across our floor, we had something raw, imperfect, real. She signed her name at the bottom of the page, almost ceremonially. Then I did the same. Melissa looked at me. You still love me? I do, I said steady. But now I love me too. Her eyes filled, but this time there was no plea, just gratitude. That night, we didn't rush to closeness. We sat on the couch, side by side, quiet, comfortable, and watched a movie we'd both seen 100 times. But this time, she reached for my hand first. And this time, I didn't let go. Some people think love is about giving without limit. But the truth? Love has terms, boundaries. And the moment you forget your worth, you risk forgetting what love really is. So now I ask you, have you ever had to teach someone how to love you the right way? Let me know in the comments. And if this story struck a chord, give it a like. Maybe even share it with someone who needs a reminder. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you open together. I'll see you in the next story.